Yeah, thank you. So, like you said, guys, we're doing the Sexuality in the Media panel now, and so if you guys would all like to introduce yourselves and just say a little bit about what it is that you do and why it's relevant that you're here today, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Callum. I graduated from Leeds in 2018, and since then I've been running not video animation and design company, creating videos for all kinds of different clients. I think I'm here less as a person who makes queer media, rather than someone who is queer and in the media, and tries to tell my clients to include queer representation and get told by far too many of them that they don't care about it.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I work for magazine, which is a super small kind of indie mag that's been going for 25 years now, and it's the leading monthly magazine for lesbian, bisexual women and non-binary people. And it's I mean, it's in the title why that I'm here, but it's a super sweet magazine, and it's got a really rich history, so I'll talk a little bit more about that.
I am Kocha. I made the Brave Scene, which is an experimental platform you put on interesting events and have life. I'm 21 and study at Leeds.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you can do dramatic entrance. If you want to just go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah, introduce yourself and tell these guys what it is that you do. That'd be great.
Yeah, so my name's Rory. I kind of do two different things. So one is that I make podcasts. So I currently make a podcast for Roundhouse, which if anyone hasn't heard of them, they're a big music venue in Camden that have their own radio station. And then I also just made a podcast for Student Pride for their podcast series called Queer AF. And I'm about to start doing some stuff at BBC as well. And then so the other part of my job is I do a lot of work within theatre, trying to get young people into performance. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. So can you guys tell us a little bit about your career story so far and how you think that your sexualities have impacted on that? If we start at the end with you, Rory?
Yeah, sure. I think thinking back to like a couple of years ago when I was studying, I think I was probably in quite a bad place mental health wise, and I think that I probably wasn't particularly open and honest about my sexuality. Even though I was completely out, I don't think it was something that really I let kind of enter my work. It wasn't something I really spoke about in my work. And now I feel like my work is the complete opposite of that. A lot of it is to do with LGBT or queer topics. And I think that I kind of got to that point by realising that that part of my personality, for lack of a better phrase, is a really interesting part of me. And I think since I've embraced it, a lot of great opportunities have come my way. So I think I've kind of learned that even though your sexuality might be a tiny part of who you are, when you are part of a minority community or group, it does really lend itself to some great work. So I've really found a passion for telling those stories of all the different queer people that I interview, as well as telling my own stories. And I think it's really, really helped me progress in my career, because I think when you are honest about who you are and speak from a place of truth, that presents a bit wanky, but I think it can only do good things.
Thank you. Danielle, you also work in queer media. So how then has your sexuality impacted just career decisions you've made up until now?
They could got me my job. So. I think like actually, obviously my own personal experience, it was just helpful because it kind of landed me where I am, a diva. And I mean, that's a really kind of niche situation. Like, there's only so many kind of like queer media that are able to pay or able to hire people, even full-time things. But yeah, certainly I kind of went through the university route myself as well, and master's in journalism at Sheffield. And yeah, I did some work experience and stuff while I was there, and one of those was a diva. And yeah, it was just, I just kind of like, it was very good timing. It was part luck, just because they needed someone as I was finishing as well. So yeah, it was
Thank you.
good timing.
Yeah. Did you always want to work in queer media then, or?
No, not necessarily. I did journalism just because I was kind of, I did my first degree and then had a few years just kind of like doing bits and pieces, working in cafes, working in bars, living in different cities, like very much just kind of like playing around for a good 4 or 5 years actually. But I always kind of wrote a little bit on the side, and then when the kind of postgraduate loans became available and I was like able to go back to university, I was like, right, okay, I'm going to do it. Yeah, and I guess just at that point in my life, I'd become a lot more kind of, I was going to say out of one with homosexuality, it's not really about that, but like, yeah, a lot more kind of comfortable in it, and I guess that just kind of came out of the things I was writing, and that's what led me to do that.
Cool, thank you. Coach, do you believe that your sexuality's had an influence on, for example, racing, anything like that?
Yeah, I think just like sexuality, it's not sexuality, sorry, queer culture in general has really impacted like the visual style and like the attitude I've tried to bring with racing. So like clubbing from like quite a young age, being in places where I definitely shouldn't have been, and being sort of like exposed to such like true expression and people really sort of like playing with the norms of what society has put on us has really inspired me from a young age, and just having that attitude of doing things when people are telling you not to do them has really funneled through a lot in my work and the creation of racing. So I feel like for me my sexuality has always been rebelling against almost the tide. So in that sense, yeah, it's just like I think the sexuality is more my strength, my inner strength, and like racing's inner strength, because it's always like rebelling. And we're just doing what the fuck we want to do. Do you know what I mean? And like doing it with style, so
Yeah. Sure. I like that. So Callum, as you said when you introduced yourself, your work in not work isn't quite so focused on sexuality, anything like that. How do you think that it still impacts the work that you do?
It definitely does for me, because I do a lot of work for different companies and corporate communications and marketing and social media, and I don't want to go. I don't think there has to be a separation for me between I'm involved in queer media and doing things like the Leeds Queer Film Festival, and then my separate life making corporate videos. I want to make sure that I can be voiced there within those boardrooms, where it's encouraging queer voices to be heard and encouraging queer representation in those videos, so that when they're choosing to make a marketing video and they're going to feature 3 heterosexual couples, that maybe they think a little bit and make sure that they get a bit of diversity and a bit of representation in there, and then those people who are seeing those brands are in a bit more of a diverse world.
Do you see, coming from that corporate aspect, a lot of internal opposition then to diversity, or do you think companies are quite happy to take it on?
It depends on the company, definitely. There are some companies who are lovely and wonderful and are always supportive of including queer themes within the videos, and there are some companies who we've lost kind of the relationships with or lost clients because I've suggested that maybe in the case of the 3 straight couples who were doing animation, they wanted us to include 3 heterosexual couples, but it's a housing advert which was going to launch a picnic company, be seen by a large number of people, paid quite well. I said, how about one of those couples isn't heterosexual? And they went, I don't think our target market will approve of that. And I said, well, I think we're going to do the animation, we're going to include a non-heterosexual couple, and they said, well, you can't work with us. And I went, okay, moved on. Important to kind of stand around, even though it meant losing money, which was, it's always a bit sad as a freelancer, but.
Oh yeah. Definitely a work in progress in that sense. In general, as far as media goes, do you guys think that there has been a lot of progress in recent years, and Is that something that you see, and sort of to what extent? Danielle, was there you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in terms of like kind of just from what I'm saying, like the Diva office and things like that, like the way that mainstream media is like really picked up on like queer culture and stuff like that. So certainly like it's kind of a lot like it's a lot bigger conversation across mainstream media, and which is there's two sides to the coin, I guess. On the one hand, great, because that means these stories are kind of reaching like wider audiences, maybe people who wouldn't necessarily have read those things in the past or kind of looked for them. But on the other hand, it's difficult for us because we've been doing that for 25 years now, and where people would maybe in the past kind of come to us to work with us or do those things, they now will go for bigger, like more mainstream media, which I understand because that's going to get them potentially bigger audience and more money. But for us, it's a bit more. There's a lot more to share, with now. So great in terms of like society, a little bit difficult for smaller kind of indie queer media. But it's certainly not black and white. So.
Do any of you guys have any thoughts on sort of the progression of representation of sexuality in the media?
Yeah, I think it happens every year. When you get to Pride in any city, it's just like big corporate companies chuck a rainbow flag like that. And I think there has been amazing progression. But like, I don't want queer identity and like sexuality to become like this buzzword, not buzzword, but this buzz thing of like you just chuck a rainbow on it and that's all fine. Because just like, for me, if a company like Tesco's, for example, want to create all of this amazing, celebration-y like material, pride in that, that's all well and good. But then when you still have workers who might be homophobic or things still not really meeting where they should be meeting, then it's kind of like it's just consumerism. It's consumerism, isn't it? In the end of the day. So I feel like we have made like a huge progression. But still, I don't feel like it's moving fast enough, and I don't feel like it's necessarily authentic. Because again, like as you were saying, it takes away from people who have been doing this for a long time, and the work is authentic, and it is from a place of care and honesty. And then you just get these people who are just finding new neoliberal markets, in a sense. Do you know what I mean? So it's a weird time. I think at the moment.
I think like authenticity is like key though. It's like whether you're genuine about it. Like you can be a big corporate company who want to support queer media or queer anything, but you have to mean it. Like you have to kind of show that like throughout the organisation.
Not just at Pride Month.
I did a podcast episode on Pride where we spoke a lot about all these corporate companies and their sort of inclusion in the parade, and we were talking about how there should be some sort of criteria if Tesco or it's one of those things where I feel like there should be some sort of quota or some criteria. These companies should be showing what they've actually done for queer charities in the last year or what they've done in terms of inclusion, as opposed to them just sort of being involved. And then I suppose the other side to the coin is there'll be lots of out and proud employees at those companies who want to march in the parade with their employer. So I guess there's two sides to it. But I think the point I wanted to make about progression was I think there is definitely progression in mainstream media. I think there's a lot of shows on Netflix that are extremely progressive, and I don't know if anyone's watched Pose, but that's obviously a big game changer as well. But I think one thing I've observed is in my previous job, I worked for a really big media company that owned a lot of commercial radio stations. Without saying who they were, I know a presenter there who was told he was being too camp on air and then left. And I also know just a couple of things I saw behind the scenes that weren't really blatantly homophobic, but they had a homophobic vibe to them, if you can say that. So I do think there's still a lot of that in big corporates for sure, even in mainstream media.
Would you say then that generally the public and more specifically media is more accepting of a nice box that they like people's sexualities to fit in, like a nice how they would like to see queer people, for example? Yeah. you guys have any experience of that?
Yeah, I'll just say really quickly, I think, I don't want to completely trash this company, I'm not naming them, but that same company, like they did an ad, I worked in marketing for them, so I was marketing all of their different radio brands, and one of the ads that we did was, it featured a gay couple kissing for literally 1 second of the ad, just a quick peck, but I think one thing I found was they were progressive enough to do that, but it was always going to be two cis white men. I think they would have had a real problem with putting a non-binary person in that ad, or maybe a queer person of colour. No one was outwardly saying that, but that's the vibe I got. I think there was only so far that they wanted to go.
I think there is like a level of safety in terms of, it's great that we've seen this big proliferation of queer media in the last 10 years or so, but it's often targeted towards people who are already accepting of queer media, which is great that we're seeing more queer representation of people who are more resistant and might harbour homophobic views. A lot of the major companies and major media companies are very resistant to putting in queer characters that maybe over 65 audience who might be more resistant of that. They're not interested in that because they don't want to offend their audience rates, which I think is still a massive problem because we need equal representation across all types of media.
As far as equal representation across all types of media goes, as far as getting across intersectionality in sexuality, as far as showcasing the problems that queer people, for example, of colour, queer people who might not be cisgender males, go. Do you guys feel that queer media plays an important role in getting that across, in sort of helping the public to understand those perspectives? Danielle?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Oh, sorry. When it comes to intersectionality, so I guess getting the public to understand and to see different sides of sexuality.
Yeah.
So, for example, queer people of colour. Do you think queer media has an important role in showcasing those stories?
Yeah, I mean certainly we're for Deeper, for example, we are a platform for queer voices, from all kind of backgrounds, communities. But I don't know that makes so much of a difference from the wider population, because not many, for example, straight men are going to be subscribing.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few, but they're not going to be kind of picking up a lesbian magazine and being like, oh yeah, cool, good to see these wonderful, diverse people. So I really think, certainly queer media has its place and its space, and there needs to be, things like this for the community, and places where they can really go and reach out and have their voices heard by their peers. But I really do think it's it kind of falls a little bit more mainstream media, I guess, to reach, the wider kind of community. Yeah.
I think the point that you made earlier about the 2 white men kissing, that was fine, anything different that I would have a problem with. When I've been doing things with the Leeds Film Festival, we've been doing shortlisting of a lot of different films, and you can see that it's quite often the stories which are to white gay men, which are the ones which have been given huge, large budgets to make these short films, and it's the more DIY films with smaller budgets which are representing that intersectionality. When we're picking the films, we make sure to get a diverse range of stories, of quality stories on. It's still true that funders, whether these mysterious funders are out there, they're looking at stories of white gay men going, those are the stories which are okay, and nothing outside of that. So it is still a massive problem.
I was just going to add on to that point, being queer and black, for me, growing up and seeing just always 2 white cis male characters in a movie was it does really play on you, because you're always comparing yourself to why am I not like them, why, and this stuff carries on into all types of spaces, like club spaces, events, X, Y, Z, because you see the way the movie's presented, and then you see the way the world's presented to you, and then you make the similarities, and it's very toxic. So I feel the media at this moment, it's just a reflection of society and where we are because, for example, mentioning how as soon as you have like two white gay couple in the shop, then it's okay, but then anything else it's just like, it's not okay, that's very like two-dimensional, and what that does, it leaves everybody else as the other. So, and doing that makes them invisible, so I feel like it's just a, what do you call it, a wheel of domination really, because you're saying like, this is accepted in this time and this isn't, and you know, especially being a graphic designer myself, I think critically like a lot about the way things are going to be perceived and digested, and we have to remember whatever you put out into the world, even though it can last for a very short amount of time, it still equally can last for a very long time in our environment. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that.
So Rory, in your podcast, you talk about a lot of queer topics that you don't think get enough mainstream discussion. I have a question, not just a statement. What are the biggest challenges do you think in mainstream media, and what are the biggest sort of points of discussion that they're just not picking up on?
I think, obviously you've spoken a bit about over-representation of certain groups within the queer community. I think that's a problem. I think the episode that I struggled to make the most was the episode on inclusion in sport, and it was a combination of people not willing to talk to me. Like I think with a lot of other episodes, I cold call people, so to speak, and just email them, and they would immediately say yes, or just not reply, which is fine. But with the sport episode, people were outwardly saying no, or just not getting back to me, and I think that really shows that there's still a huge lack of representation in mainstream sport of queer people. There's not a single out footballer playing in the Premier League at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a sports fan, but that's what I learned in making that episode. And I think that's a huge challenge. Like I said, I'm not really into sport, but I think if you are a young queer person and you're watching Sky Sports or any of the big football matches between the big UK teams, you're probably not seeing yourself in a lot of those players or a lot of the presenters or the commentators. There's really a handful of people. So that's one challenge that I really came across. But I do think on a more positive note, without trying to be too negative, it is changing, and there are some great people out there that I interviewed. There's a group called Sports Media LGBT, which have a great social media presence, and they are constantly tweeting and updating about all the inclusion in sport that's continuing, and the Rainbow Laces campaign that Stonewall did as well is pretty amazing, and they're heavily involved in that as well. So it's not all doom and gloom, but that's one area that really needs a big focus.
It's like clap to like women's football.
Yeah.
They're doing a good job.
They're doing a really good job, yeah, and they fall in that same category, and actually spoke a lot about that in that episode about the amount of misogyny that's also in sport as well, so it kind of goes hand in hand. There's a lot of racism in sport as well, a lot of racist chants I constantly see being reported online, so yeah, a lot of work to do in that area.
So, some of the people here today in the audience will be straight, cisgender, wanting to start careers in the media potentially. What advice would you give to them or to anyone in the same position who wants to go into the media industry and who wants to be an ally to LGBT causes?
I guess first they probably just need to reach out to those people. And I guess it's great if you want to tell those stories and explore them and get involved, like 100% do it. I think it's just a case of like, making sure those people are involved and really, trying to look at the intersections and like, rather than kind of like, you writing about people, I think it's just a staple of journalism really, just like, elevating their voices up and kind of like making sure that they're kind of like platforms. In a nutshell.
Just come to the events really people put on as well. Make sure you're present, see what people are getting up to, just never be scared to message people as well, because like I feel like a lot of people when they're like younger, like myself when I was first starting out doing my design work, I like remember when I was messaging designers at the age of like 16, 17 and just be really, really scared, but then you actually do get replies. Some people don't reply to you, but don't bother with them. In a nutshell. But like, yeah, it's just about, it's just exploring and discovering. There's so many cool, sick things going on in the world, even though we do live in quite a shit, depressing time at the moment. You know, to put it right, sorry. But there is also a huge, especially in Leeds as well, a huge amount of sick collectives and just events. So it's just really going to that and just chatting with people to put them on, really. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Reach out to people. I think if people don't reply, don't pay it too much mind. I think one important thing to say is if you're straight and you want to report on any sort of queer story or anything like that, just make sure that the story is told in the person who you're interviewing, it's told in their words, because I think that's kind of key, because if you're not identifying it as queer, it's important that it's told from their perspective. And I think in terms of being an ally, like if you want to be an ally, you can do something so simple like having a little rainbow flag pin on your bag, just to show people that, like, you know, you support LGBT rights or queer rights. I think sometimes it's the little things that actually go a long way. Because sometimes you can feel uncomfortable with someone if you don't know where they stand on your sexuality or anything to do with that. So the subtle things work sometimes.
I think like when we kind of first went into the media, you know, we start off in that position of power and responsibility, but when you get to that position, it's so important to be conscious of sexuality, but also there's two other panels there as well, isn't there?
Three, yeah, we've got gender and race and disability.
Yeah, so to be kind of aware of all those factors as well, and I think also recognise that sometimes you might get approached to do something and you're not the right voice to tell that story, and to kind of, as you were saying, kind of raising people up, and empower them to tell that story if they're a better voice to be telling it.
What advice would you guys give to anyone in the audience who wants to start a career in media, TV, radio, journalism, anything along those lines, and they just don't know where to start? What advice would you guys give?
Just do it, really. And just don't be scared. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you just gotta know what you like, understand what your interests are, and think of ways you basically transport that into an accessible thing almost. So yeah, it's just like really not being scared to do it. And like things muck up, and like you're gonna make loads of mistakes, but also everybody does. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's perfect. I'm still making mistakes. I'm still learning from my mistakes. Like racing's still in its baby stage. So it's just allowing time and commitment as well with that. But yeah, just do it. You only have one life, so.
I like that. Ellie?
Yeah, I mean, yes, just do it as well. I think like a lot of the time, when I was kind of studying stuff, I was a little bit kind of confused, I guess. A lot of the time people would be like, follow your passion, follow your dream, and I'd be like, well, I don't know what my passion is. Obviously I'm passionate about, queer stories and things like that, but it wasn't like some burning, desire, light, as if people, and it seems quite often like when we talk about things like this, and especially like with careers and things, it's like, you have to follow this, and I guess maybe quite a lot of people are kind of sat there and like, I like these things, I'm interested, but I don't have that thing.
Yeah.
And I think it just said for one, that's fine, that's okay. And maybe reframing things a little bit as well, rather than being like, you must follow your dreams, you must follow your passion, kind of just thinking just kind of explore your multiple curiosities.
Yeah.
Dip into it a little bit. It doesn't matter if you're not I was going to say your loins aren't burning for gardening or something, but even if it's just I've just got a little bit of an interest in, gardening, or I don't know, anything. And it's just kind of exploring that a little bit, rather than kind of feeling like you have to be super committed or super, zoned in on this one magical thing.
Yeah, I think universities probably as well a great chance to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Try everything, do all the societies, do all the...
Even if your loins aren't necessarily burning.
Yeah, as long as it has to be burning, basically, is my wisdom,
Callum, so you were active in student media when you were here. Did you have any advice on that and things?
Yeah, I think it's just that there are those opportunities out there, and if those opportunities aren't out there, then you can kind of create some opportunities for yourself to go out and just keep making things do. You're not getting somewhere with opportunities. There are lots of opportunities to work, but you can just go and make things, and particularly when you're a student. I spend way too much of my time making student media, and it's the stuff that I did in student media which has allowed me to set up a company. We formed our showreel when we started, and we said, look at all of this stuff that we made as a company. We did good slides, top lines, and they went, that's great, we'll take you. And we started getting some work, and got a better showreel from that. So really, the stuff you do right now in student media can be that kind of base work which can take it to the next stages.
Rory, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think coming to stuff like this is great. Like, I didn't go to enough stuff like this when I was younger, and I think like you can only learn from as many panels as you go to. I think it's great to be as involved as possible in everything that happens at this uni. But I would also say one really important thing I found when looking for jobs initially is that a lot of different media companies will look for like practical experience. So again, obviously making stuff when you're a student is really important, and even doing, I know it's awful doing free work and volunteer work and making stuff in your own time because we all need money, but I think having somewhat of a portfolio is really helpful. It just gives you that kind of extra edge to your CV amongst everybody else that you'll be graduating with. And finally, I would say like my career has not been a straight line at all. I've tried out so many different things, and I think when I was first looking for work, I was working at Royal Albert Hall as front of house, and I happened to make some great contacts there because they ran a program for young people that wanted to get into event production, and I got to produce and present a few events there, and that sort of led to more presenting work. So I would say try and take opportunities wherever you find them, because you never know what they might lead to.
Thank you guys. And just as a kind of closing question then, because we're coming up on one, kind of following on from that last question, is there anything that you guys wish that you had done differently when you were just sort of thinking about getting involved in media, or when you were at university, for example, or when you were just starting out?
I think it's more that there's too many mistakes.
That's very enough.
I think it would be kind of like, similar to what you said, like I think I took advantage of quite a lot of opportunities, but just doing even more, I guess, and like work experience is super important. I think whenever we have people apply for like work experience and stuff, if they've done maybe a little bit somewhere else, even if it's just like at the university magazine or newspaper, or if they have created a portfolio, it doesn't have to be super professional or like super like high tech, just to have something to like, here I've done stuff. Those emails get a lot more response than ones that are just like, I'd like to do an experience, and it's just it's certainly something good to have. I think just taking even more advantage of the opportunities that were there, I guess. Off the top of my head.
Do you guys have anything you'd like to add just before we finish up then?
I definitely would have done stuff differently. But I think, again, it is about taking as many opportunities as possible. That's probably my one regret, is like, there's so many amazing schemes and websites and programs out there for young people. So while you're young, and if you're a student, you have the time, do take advantage of it. It's definitely very beneficial. And if anybody wants to get involved with Queer AF, the Student Pride podcast, they're always looking for contributors. It's paid. You can speak to me afterwards if you want to know more about that. So, yeah.
Self-care, I think, is really important for anybody like involved in anything. I think I burnt myself out quite a lot last year, just from like, the amount of events and like work I was doing. So I had no time for self-care, but like now I realise I'm never going to do that again. So yeah, just maybe taking things slow.
Yeah.
Slow and just looking after yourself, really important.
Definitely. Especially for young students, I think.
Yeah, also that. Like, don't move to London and then go to every event for every night for like 2 weeks in a row, because I did that and killed myself.
Well, thank you very much, guys.